So members, you're hereby summoned to attend the monthly meeting of Business and Culture to be held hybrid meeting conducted remotely via WebEx and physically in the council chamber in the Guildhall in Derry. So if I take the roll call, please. Alderman Mauricedevenney. Alderman Ryan McCready. Alderman David Ramsey. Councillor Jason Barr. Councillor Shaun Carr.
Here, Stephen.
Councillor Shauna Cusack. Councillor Gary Donnelly. Councillor Rory Farrell.
Here.
Councillor Shaun Harkin.
Here.
Councillor Conor Heaney.
Sure.
Councillor Patricia Logue.
Yeah, Stephen.
Councillor John McGowan.
Sure.
Councillor Kieran Maguire. And Councillor Lillian Sinai Barr. Thank you, members.
Stephen, it's Shauna here. Can I have just dialed on? Thanks.
And sorry, Chair, Morris here is on as well. Morris, Alderman DeVenney.
Okay, so I will read the broadcast announcement. I would like to remind everyone present at this meeting in the Guildhall or in attendance remotely that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to the attendance at this meeting, you're consenting to be informed and the use and storage of these images for broadcasting or training purposes and for the purposes of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight a request to speak. A copy of the Council's privacy notice may be found on the Council website. Moving on to item 4, declaration of members' interest. Does anyone want to declare an interest in any items on the agenda? Okay. Moving on to Chair's business. I only have one thing in Chair's business, and I discussed it with Stephen already. I want to send a letter out from the Mayor to congratulate Aileen Barber, a local girl who achieved 3 distinction star grades in her level 3 extended diploma in IT at the Northwest Regional College. It's a story that's made the press this week, and she's now studying computer science at Queen's in the footsteps of 4 of her other family members. And she's got 2 others also doing the same course. And I want to congratulate her because she's also been awarded the JP McManus scholarship of £22,000 over the 4 years. So I've asked Stephen to ask a mayor to write to her and congratulate her on the success, and also maybe write to the college, because this is the sort of thing that we're trying to do. We're trying to encourage more of our young people to study here, to stay here, and continue on their working life here. So that's all I have. Item 6, matters arising from open minutes of the Business and Culture Committee held on Tuesday, the 11th of October. Does anybody want to come on any of those? No? Okay. So no matters arising?
Chair.
Sorry, Shauna.
I didn't get the type quick enough there. Chair.
Sorry.
It's page 3, BC 159/22. Well, it's not strictly related to that item, but it's the only thing that I found was close enough to it, and it's on the subject of business and investment for the city and district. Chair, I wonder could officers give an update or a bit of background as to the current situation regarding the hosting of events, fun fairs, festivals, and that. It's Ebrington Square. I heard a bit of a radio interview there yesterday afternoon, Radio Foil. And it appears that the Executive Office has placed an immediate moratorium on the hosting of any events on the square until maybe after August 2023. I'm just wondering, does that impact a lot of maybe planned events. I've heard some business people were on the radio about it. And so if it does, how does it impact our council calendar of events and businesses who maybe have already got things planned for that area? And do we know what's happening, or why that was sort of just appeared in the news all of a sudden? I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's not something we're aware of, Councillor Cusack. I mean, we've been working with the Executive Office to coordinate events and to look at their calendar and our calendar and how that fits with civic events and so on. So it's certainly news to me. The 18 has a look across the table. So we'll go and talk to the Executive Office. We are working on a joint process, but there's certainly no moratorium on events that I'm aware of. But we will take it to the Executive Office and come back.
Yeah, if I could just come back there, Chair, I believe there was a meeting. This was discussed on the radio on Friday past. As I say, not many people seem to know about it, and just if there could be, some background research done into what that was about, unless somebody's got the wrong end of the stick. I couldn't catch it all, and I couldn't find anything online, even myself. So I'd appreciate, that, just in case there's something that's happened that we're not aware of. Thanks.
Councillor Patricia Lowe.
Thanks, Chair. I don't know if I can shed some light on this, but maybe it's something to do with. I just came by that way yesterday after a meeting in the Foyle Arena, and I noticed there's a lot of work going on. They were digging up the pads. They seem to be laying pipes and all. So unless that's something to do with it, and that was within the square.
Okay, so thanks, Stephen. We've agreed that we would speak to them and see what it is. Are you happy enough with that, Councillor Cusack?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Thanks for allowing me in on it. Thank you.
Thanks. Moving on to item 7, Enterprise Week. I'll hand you over to Kevin.
Thanks, Chair. Members, the purpose of this report is to seek your approval to deliver Enterprise Week 2023, which is scheduled to take place from the 6th to the 10th of March. So just as a background, members will be aware that Council has been involved in coordinating Enterprise Week activities for over 10 years now at this stage. We obviously had a couple of years where Enterprise Week basically moved to an online virtual type delivery program. We did some events in hybrid fashion last year, in this current year, but the previous Enterprise Week. So we kind of had an opportunity to really go back to our stakeholders and to try to change up how we deliver Enterprise Week. So we've, since about June of 2022, we brought together a number of stakeholders across the city and district, and there's a sort of bit of a consultation feedback report included in the appendix in terms of how we plan, deliver, what KPIs we set, what Enterprise Week is for, and actually who we can get to get involved in it. So that's actually included within the report itself. But the programme itself normally involves a week-long schedule of business-focused workshops, webinars, keynote addresses, panel discussions, startup pitches, and also offers networking opportunities to local businesses itself. Typically, Enterprise Week it's council do the coordination. It really relies on the input from our stakeholders. Stakeholders like InvestNI, Intertrade Ireland, the Chambers of Commerce, Catalyst, Enterprise Northwest, Urban Enterprise Agency, other agencies and educational, FE and HE, including Northwest Regional College, Ulster University and Women in Enterprise itself. So the proposal for next year's Enterprise Week is to run a blended 5-day programme of events focusing on innovation and economic growth. The core messaging that will be developed are around seeds of change, around the business life cycle, restart, startup, growth, scaling and established businesses, but focusing very heavily on innovation, digitisation and social purpose throughout the programme. There are some details of a number of events that are currently in planning phase around the Meet the Buyer, the funding game and startup pitch competition, but obviously as we move forward, the programme itself will populate, as it is heavily, it is around giving our local stakeholders a platform to showcase what it is they do in terms of contributing to the overall health of the economy in the council area. Other events that are in there are around youth entrepreneurship, celebration of inclusion and diversity. And actually this year it coincides with the Derry Chamber's President's Lunch, which is held annually itself too, which is good in terms of raising profile of the brand itself. So we're also looking to deliver the pitching element. We're going to be trying to seek additional sponsorship to be able to offer prizes for that pitching event itself, so that we don't need to use our own existing budget to be able to deliver on that element. So there is a £15,000 budget allocation within our existing budgets, which will cover speaker fees, venue hire, catering and that type of stuff. So the recommendation is that members approve the proposal to deliver Enterprise Week 2023 at that cost, and we'll come back in December with hopefully a fuller picture in terms of the programme itself.
So would I have a proposer?
Councillor Farrell.
So, Councillor Farrell proposed and Alderman Venny, you can second, okay?
That's no problem.
Moving on to item 8. Rory wants to say, sorry.
I didn't really have a question regarding that. I was happy to propose it, happy to support Enterprise Week. I think it's a key event on our business calendar, and it helps to promote entrepreneurship, business startups, innovation, growth. And it's good that we've asked for feedback from participants. And the feedback is that they want more quality over quantity in terms of events. And we've got 3 large-scale events: Meet the Buyer, the funding game, and the startup pitch conversation. And it's good that we're measuring outcomes, we're measuring outputs, we're measuring success, like key referrals to our quality, referrals to Invest NI, and referrals to Go For It programme. So, that's all good. And, the key purpose in doing this is to create jobs in the local economy and grow the local economy. And that's something that we definitely need. So happy to support on behalf of the SLP, happy to propose it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Moving on now to item 8. Is that Stephen or 8?
Me, yeah, thank you, Chair. So, members, you will be aware of the Christmas programme and the associated marketing plans that we brought to you in September. That paper outlined plans for the overall switch-on activity and other associated programming. It also outlined proposals for Christmas in the Communities programming, which over recent years has seen budget made available to 5 of the neighbourhood renewal areas of a grant of up to £3,000 to develop programming that will complement the overall Christmas offer. There was also a specific allocation, you'll know, for switch-on events in 3 communities in the district. This Christmas in Communities for the 5 neighbourhood renewal areas was a one-off grant in 2018, and in the 3 years since, due to the success of the activities, officers had recommended that this activity be extended for this Christmas period, with the condition that it provides quality Christmas programme that complements the overall city and district offer. It had always been officers' intentions to recommend a review of this, as it is increasingly difficult to manage this level of complementary activity for these groups when there's already a dedicated community festival fund in operation. Historically, you'll be aware, as part of the former Strabane District Council, a grant of £1,000 was given to communities in Castledairg, Newton Stewart and Zion Mills. This has been continued every year since the formation of the new council. Officers have expressed concern at the difficulty this presents, as there is no competitive process for this, and there are other groups, as members will be aware, throughout the wider city and district who would welcome the opportunity to access funding for Christmas events. And members, you have all made it clear each year that there are other locations who would welcome this type of funding. Further to this issue, it has also emerged this year that there are a number of groups in Newton Stewart itself who have requested access to this funding. The only way that officers could accept a proposal if there was to be a competitive process for this. This close to the event, this is not feasible and would essentially mean allocating not only the Newton Stewart funding, but also those amounts allocated to Castledairg and Zion Mills to a competitive process for events which are already well in the planning. To this end, in the absence of any agreement between the groups, the only group that officers recommend that can receive this money for switch-on activity is the group who always have done in full, that is the Newton Stewart Development Association. It is important, members, that this issue is resolved for next year, and it is officers' recommendation that the community Christmas budget for both the NRAs and each of the rural switch-ons are allocated via the Community Festival Fund, but ring-fenced for Christmas activity. Priority would be given to the lower bracket of the funds for events up to £1,000 that would allow as many communities of varying size as possible to benefit from the fund. As members will be aware, you agreed in September to open the Community Festival Fund will be open in the coming weeks. The terms and conditions of this fund will not change, but an amount will be ring-fenced specifically for those groups who will organise Christmas activity. Should this not be utilised, it will be reallocated into the wider fund. The management and administration of grant aid is an intensive activity and requires considerable resource. Therefore, it is not possible to deliver this via a separate fund, and the Community Festival Fund is the best mechanism for this. Officers will contact all the relevant groups to ensure they're aware of the new process and the requirement to submit applications for Christmas activity in 2023 in the coming weeks via the Community Festival Fund, which will be a competitive process, as I have said, with an allocation for Christmas activity. There are likely to be significant equality issues if this issue is not resolved as outlined. The budget that has been allocated to Christmas in communities has been taken from core Christmas programming budget from festival events, as has the community switch-on allocations. This amounts to a total of 18,000. Members should note that this budget is allocated from the overall festival and event budget and is likely to be subject to budget cuts that are being implemented by wider cost-saving measures. Members, you're asked to note the content of the report and to approve the continuation of the allocation of the Christmas switch-on to the Newton Stewart Development Association for 2022. And members are also asked to approve that all Christmas grant aid is moved to a ring-fenced allocation within the Community Festivals Fund and allocated via that fund on an annual basis starting in 2023-24, which will be open for applications before Christmas 2022. I'm happy to take any questions or give any clarity on that for anybody that would like it.
Yeah.
Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Aideen, for the report. So we obviously understand and appreciate the difficulty that the current arrangement presents to officers, and I understand the rationale of moving it under the Community Festival Fund. And we're saying that the existing funding, which is 15 grand for the 5 neighbourhood renewal areas and Strabane, and the 3 grand for Newton Stewart, Castledairg and Zion Mills, is going to be protected within that. It's going to be ring-fenced. But is that ring-fenced money going to be ring-fenced per DEA? So at the minute, we have 3 grand for Ballyarnett, we have 3 grand for Foyleside, we have 3 grand for the Moor, etc., etc. Are those DEAs going to be protected within the 18k once it goes into that Communities Festival Fund?
No, there's a short answer to that. But there will be a priority given to the £1,000 activity. It's also, there also will be able to access funding, so it won't be the Christmas money will be ring fenced, but there will be an opportunity to take money out of the wider pot as well for quality applications. So it won't be exclusive for Christmas, but no, it won't be ring fenced per DEA. It will be competitive.
Just to in my own head here. So that means, I could be totally wrong by saying this, let's just say the Moore Ward put in a better application than the Spain. Would the Spain totally lose out on any type of money for the Christmas or what?
In theory, but you wouldn't, the maximum that you can get. So we've two tiers of community festivals. You've up to 10, up to 5, up to 1,000 and up to 5. So we would prioritise applications for up to 1,000. And then that would probably allow for a better spread across the city and district, because you would be able to bring in more groups. But you're right in the sense that each DA may not get the full amount that they would have previously got, but they will be able to compete for it. And certainly some of those DAs in theory will be able to compete for more money in the wider pot as well. And all of those organisations, the Community Festival Fund, I should stress, is open every year. The wider pot is always open for any communities to bid into for any activities all year.
Councillor Farrell again.
I have an issue with that, to be honest. So if an organisation can bid for 1,000 quid to deliver Christmas activity and the total pot is 18k, and this is highly unlikely and highly improbable, but you could have 18 bids from the one DA that are all super duper bids, and every other DA in the city and district gets nothing, doesn't get a bean. And the current arrangement we have is that it is spread evenly across the city and district. So I have an issue with that. To be honest, is there any way that we can have an allocation per DA within the community festivals fund that is ring fenced for Christmas, or is it purely competitive? Could it be competitive within the DA?
That's exceptionally difficult for us to manage. The Community Festival Fund has always operated on it's open for anybody in the city and district. We don't ring fence an allocation per DEA. Members, as you'll recall from 2018, we were heavily pressed to take budget from the core Christmas budget to allocate to each of the neighbourhood renewal areas. Which was problematic at the time, and that's why it had to be specifically for activity that was complementary to the core Christmas activity, because it effectively took away the budget that we had for core city and town centre activity. So it's exceptionally difficult for us to manage. We would probably have to look at equality issues, all sorts of stuff. The Community Festival Fund has operated on that basis for forever, I suppose, and has, to be fair, has probably come out with a reasonable balance across the city and district of events, of community festivals. It has probably always been a bit of a stretch, and cause it's an issue that the 5 neighbourhood renewal areas got a specific allocation for Christmas activities. So there is going to be a degree of competition, but I think ring fencing it probably protects that Christmas activity and protects it to a certain degree for a lot of the groups, and it does open it probably to allow more smaller communities to enter it, and it takes, I suppose, it moves us away from that core activity into spreading the love, as it were, a bit more to other smaller communities. And I do think probably some of the larger groups are going to be probably better able to bid into some of the bigger, the bigger pot, but it is a risk, yeah, but it is exceptionally difficult. I mean, we are stretched the max in terms of our own culture team in the grant aid that we run. That's why for us to go outside and create a totally new process at this stage is we just simply do not have the resource to do it. The only other way would be if that resource went from business and culture altogether and was allocated by each of the electoral areas, but that's an entirely different process that will take an extensive amount of time. So within the resources that we have our view about it is that this is the fairest way to do it.
I'm really taking the hand here, Chair, but one final comment. I can just see this coming down the track, and I'm just mentioning Cyan Mills just as an example. So currently they get £1,000 a year for Christmas programming. If we adopt this new process and it's not ring-fenced per DEA, they mightn't get anything. And that's a distinct possibility. And that's not fair to people in Cyan Mills. And I see Derek's coming in, he might say something similar. We've got a system at the minute that ensures equity across the city and district. And we do to a certain degree where there's money ring fence for each of the DEAs and the Newton Stewart, Castledale and Cyan Mills. And if we adopt this process, there's no guarantee that they'll all get funding for Christmas activity.
I think one of the issues that has been repeatedly raised is that the system that we have isn't exactly fair. That's why the putting it within community festivals means that it is absolutely fair. One of the issues is that there are probably going to be people who so I suppose to date, the groups that have received Christmas money have not had to apply for it. They've been allocated it directly. But as every year that we bring that paper in, as members will know, there's a request from other groups. Now any group can apply to regular community festivals fund, absolutely, but it is an issue that at the moment I would say that it probably isn't fair at the moment, because those groups get it allocated directly, and some of those groups only since 2018. So it's only it's been a relatively short period of time that it has been allocated. So I suppose it's our view as officers that there may be some winners and losers in next year, but it is fair. And I suppose one of the things that if it is fair and it's in a fair and transparent process, if additional budget is found for example, for community festivals, for the Christmas pot or otherwise, it is much easier for us to allocate it then as and when, if it's found. Because we have a process in place and we can rank them. So as you know, in any year, under the regular Community Festivals Fund, we have a set budget, and then we usually get an allocation from Department for Communities that comes in quite late. And in other years, we've found savings in that. So we've been able to. So once we have the process, you obviously, as you know, we've brought in papers and say we're going to allocate the money we have to the top scoring and work our way down the list. And once the Department for Communities money comes in, we're able to award the next couple. And should additional money be found, we're able to award some more. So it gives us a process, and it gives us a process that is fairly robust, right, all the way up to Christmas. So we can allocate that money once we have the process done and everybody's applied and is on the list and ranked. We can allocate that money in theory in year. We can certainly allocate it in October, November for Christmas activity. But it is, I suppose, our recommendation will be to you that yes, this might be a little bit difficult. But if you cast your minds back to the difficult period we had in 2015, when we had to bring a lot of people off service level agreements and we had to do a lot of work to tidy up our grant aid process, that was a difficult period. This is less so, and I think it's probably a good exercise to do, and it's one that will be very fair.
Alderman Hussey.
Thank you for the opportunity, Chair. As you know, I'm not a member of committee. I understand the logic of where officers may be coming from on this, but I wonder how much engagement has there been. I'm thinking of the groups who are currently those that we assist and those who assist council in ensuring that Christmas can be spread across the district. So one of my questions would be, what engagement has there been with the current recipients of funding? Aidan has rightly also said there'll be winners and losers. My fear is the losers are going to be those groups who do sterling voluntary work in the community, but with limited capacity. And I can think of many examples where it's the same group of 2 or 3 people who are doing, they're doing Christmas, they're doing A, B, C through the year. And then the issue, this whole issue of capacity. I understand the issues that officers are facing, but I'm wondering, has there been proper engagement with the current groups, those who are going to be impacted? And maybe they will have ideas on taking it all forward. I've talked about capacity, and I mean, I've often heard, I'm beginning to hear, and increasingly beginning to hear groups saying, for £1,000, is it worth my while going in through all of the hoops to get £1,000? And some groups are on the verge of saying no. This committee has heard me in the past saying £1,000 per, for the 3 communities in my own area simply isn't enough. And we already know in one case, events in Castleberg with regard to Christmas, the organiser there and assisted by council officers are looking at additional funding because the £1,000 simply isn't enough. So there are issues that need to be addressed there. And I wonder, should this recommendation be accepted now by committee, or should officers be asked, hold the recommendation, go out to the communities, discuss it and bring it back to committee? I would suggest that, but I can't propose anything. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Heaney, and then I'll come to Councillor Lowe.
Thanks, Chair. And I just listening to discussion here, like I can certainly see the sense and the logic that council officers are putting forward here, and I can also see the inherent unfairness in relation to certain groups having been selected and automatically receive council funding when others in the same DEA can't ability to apply if that's the current situation. So there is an unfairness about how we're currently structured. But like all things, the council does, if some of the concerns that Councillor Farrell has raised turned out to be the case, then of course there's the opportunity to return to this and review it again. So like that satisfies me. Previous examples of how this has worked in the community fund itself has shown that there is a fair opportunity and a fair spread of money. And I would largely suspect it'll be the same with this. But if Councillor Farr is right and the concerns that he's raised turn out to be the past, then we can come back to this and look at it again. So on that basis, I think it's fair, and I certainly would be supporting the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Lowe.
Thank you, Chair. No, just to agree that we do. This is an issue that has come on year, and there is an unfairness about it. And as we can see, all our groups now have come in, albeit maybe from the same area, looking for funding too as well. So we do have to find a way out of this. So I think we should give it a go and see how we get on.
So, Councillor Heaney, can I take that you're proposing it?
Yeah, you can, sure, yeah.
Can I have a second there?
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you, Patricia. Okay. Any dissenting voices here? Thank you. Okay.
Chair, I'm not a member of council, but I will be at full council making the suggestion again that I have made. I will make that a full council when the committee report comes forward. Thank you, Chair.
I'm happy to come back on that. Alderman Hussey, I mean, there has been quite a bit of discussion over not just this year, but in previous years with all of the groups involved in this. We are, and I know we've been heavily involved, certainly my own team been heavily involved in discussions in Castleberg in particular in recent weeks to, to look at the issue of programming, not just at Christmas, but throughout the year. this issue has, you know, the issue with the Newton Stewart allocation has been very much crystallised this year with the number of groups from Newton Stewart itself who've come to us seeking that funding. So you know, it's put not just officers but members are, you know, we're all in a difficult position and have to take this decision. What I would say is we will be engaging with all of the groups about if the new process is adopted, and I do think, you know, we have the culture member working group that we will, as we always do every year, that we will convene to, you know, to look at, to address any of the issues, and I think we will, you know, we can keep this under review. But one of the issues is the time is of the essence here to be able to engage with those groups, to make them aware of the process, to get the Community Festivals Fund open for next year. I think if we were to put this off for, you know, for decision for another month, which would take us right into January, we would run out of time to operate in the community festivals. But, you know, and I think if I can give Alderman Hussey's assurance that we will be engaging directly with all of the groups to inform them. I'm not entirely sure what the alternative is, what the solution. I know we would love to be able to allocate money to all of the groups who come forward. Unfortunately, we do need some kind of a process. But as all of our members will be aware, we as an officer team will provide as much support as we can to any of those groups, and we'll be doing that over the coming weeks for those who now have to enter a process that they may not have had to before, and we'll be ensuring that we do that before the fund opens, you know, so that groups are aware of what's required. And, you know, I think the fact that that this money will be ring fenced for Christmas, I think, I think we have a good chance of it working out with, certainly it will work out fairly, and it hopefully will work out with, you know, as much satisfaction for all of the groups as possible. But I would stress that if we were to defer this decision, it would, from a timing perspective, it would be problematic. But I can assure Alderman Hussey that we will be engaging with all of the groups, have been and are aware of a lot of their views, but it's just the options that are open to us for this process are limited, particularly now with the issue that we have in front of us for this year.
Okay, thank you, Aidan. Can we move on now to Councillor Farrell back again? Okay.
Sorry to labour this point here. I get Councillor Heaney's comment about, you know, there should be a competitive process. I'm not against a competitive process whatsoever, but I think there should be protections within each DA. Have the competitive process within each DA, but ensure that each DA gets a fair share of Christmas programming. So we're not prepared to sign off on this today. I appreciate Aidan's comments about the timings involved. If we make a decision today, it needs ratified at full council. So we're proposing this deferred until full council. In fairness, you know, I came on here thinking that there was going to be a ring-fenced amount for each DA, but I was just seeking clarity on that. Clearly, there isn't a ring-fenced amount for each DA. So we're going to need to have a discussion internally within the SDLP to see if this is the best way forward. So I would prefer if this deferred to full council, in fairness.
Councillor Devenney.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in. During the debate, I tried to get in, but look, whatever happened, it ceased for a while, and I heard that there was a proposer in second. Look, I would support Councillor Farrell on this. Look, we're not looking to hold it back, and I have taken on board the conversation from Aidan and around if we hold it back too long, that it will cause an impact on next year. But I do believe there is some merit in what Councillor Farrell has said and around ring fencing for each DEA. And I've taken on board, listened to Alderman Hussey, and I know he's not part of the committee, but he has very, very valid concerns. And look, I would be happy just to defer it until full council, until I get back to my grouping and I was able to see the method. And I take on board, Aidan, the comments that you made. Look, no matter what system we put in place, there are always going to be somebody's going to say that's not fair because of X, Y, and Z, and we understand that. And any change in the process, there will be always somebody say that this is unfair. But I think just holding it on till full council would suffice for myself, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. And Councillor Harkin.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, we'll be happy to wait until full council to make a decision on this. I think some of the issues that have been raised are concerning. So maybe everybody can have a look at it in between and see if there's a way that we can get this so that it makes as many people happy as possible. Thank you, Chair.
So I think I'm hearing a consensus to defer to full council. So we'll do that then, okay? Happy enough, Connor?
Yeah, intent to leave it to full council, but I fully appreciate Aideen's comments that there's a real timing issue here, so this issue needs resolved at full council. And I don't even know if in deferring full council, I wouldn't, as I see Aideen's looking to get back on, causes a problem. Because if it does, that would be a concern, and then we would probably put this to a vote.
No, I suppose timing wise, like we would be waiting for full council for a decision on this anyway. I would be concerned if we were deferring it into December, January, you know, but full council is fine timing wise.
Well, on that basis, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Heaney. So that's the fair move on to item 9, William Starrett, blue plaque. You haven't slipped that one up.
Thank you, Chair. So this, members, this is a report just seeking your approval for the Ulster History Circle to erect a blue plaque on the front elevation of the Alley Arts and Conference Centre to commemorate the life and work of the poet William Starrett. William Starrett was a Strabane schoolmaster who penned the earliest known Ulster Scots poem as early as 1722. He was better known as a surveyor and a mathematician and then as a school teacher. We've quite a bit of detail in the report on the background to William Starrett, which I won't go into just now. I'll let members read that, and there's a link there to even more information about William Starrett of Strabane. But members, you'll be aware in January 22 that you proposed a programme for the erection of a series of Ulster History Circle blue plaques across the city and district. The Ulster History Circle have requested the blue plaque for William Starrett to be included as an addition to the list. It is their ambition to have the plaque in place in time for a launch event as part of Ulster Scots Language Week, which is the 21st to the 25th of November. And I'm aware that that timing may be challenging, but we agreed to bring this to your decision, for your decision anyway, members. There are no cost implications for council. The Ulster History Circle have secured funding from the Ulster Scots Agency for the erection of this blue plaque, and members, you're asked to approve for the Ulster History Circle to erect this blue plaque in front of the elevation of the Alley Arts Theatre to commemorate the life and work of the poet William Starrett.
Thanks, Chair. Short and sweet. Just everything's noted in the report, and there's going to be no cost to council, so I don't see any reason why we just go ahead and propose this. I propose it, Chair. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder?
DeVenney can second it.
Thank you. Have I any dissenting voices? Okay. Moving on to item 10, which is open for information. We'll take item 10 and item 11 together. Has anyone any questions? Councillor Farrell again.
Just a comment on item 14, which was about the job fairs in Strabane and Derry. And I think Councillor Barr is going to mention Strabane, but I'll talk about somewhere closer to home to myself. I was pleasantly surprised that there were 940 vacancies on offer at that jobs fair in the Millennium Forum. And that was just from the companies and organisations that were present. We're told on a monthly basis about, the unemployment figures across Derry and Strabane, but we've no understanding about the number of vacancies. Have we any understanding of how many vacancies there actually are throughout this city and district, or is that part of, the programme of works for the Labour Market Partnership? Because I was shocked to find out that amongst those organisations, there's nearly 1,000 jobs going. So have we any clarity on the actual number of vacancies, or is that part of the forward work programme for the Labour Market Partnership?
I can't put a figure on it today. What I would say is that, we're obviously operating in we have been operating in a period of a really constrained labour market, with the fact that lots of companies are now advertising jobs remotely. So that provides opportunities here for our local people to take that job, work from home, but work from a company which would otherwise not necessarily have been advertising in this district. So that certainly contributes to the vacancies. What I would say is that lots of companies don't necessarily publish, as in, say, we've got X amount of vacancies. They'll be advertising for jobs and stuff like that. Clearly companies want to promote themselves as a brand of choice and create demand from employees, from people to want to apply for those jobs. So they don't necessarily talk too much about their attrition rates and that type of thing. In terms of the labour market partnership, so there's obviously a private sector element to that, and we will be surveying, companies who want to volunteer that type of information. We can certainly ask the question. We can never compel organisations, companies, private sector individuals to divulge that type of information. Could be commercially sensitive. What I would say is that over this last 6 months on a cross-border basis, we've been doing a piece of work around talent mapping. So we've been encouraging people who work right across the Northwest City region, that's in Donegal, Derry City and Strabane, to give us their information about their skills, what jobs they're doing, the types of roles they're performing within those companies. So that we've got a really good snapshot of the level of complexity of employment there is in Derry City and Strabane, i.e. that we are able to deliver on high-end jobs as well as all the other jobs, so we will publish that information. And I think it'll be quite interesting to see how many senior roles there are actually available, or not available, actually in play within this district. So it's just the reason they give us that information is because one of the stipulations about being able to actually exhibit at the jobs fair is you actually had to have real vacancies. And that's where we got those figures from what the companies declared to get into the jobs fair itself. So we'll try our best to see what we can get, and maybe through the LMP report and come back to members at a later stage around the actual figures.
Councillor Jason Barr.
Thank you, Chair. That's not really a question. This was just to thank the officers for, which was a brilliant event in Strabane. I spoke to a few people who attended it, and they said how brilliantly well run it was, and how enlightened it was in different businesses throughout Strabane, especially knowing then that there was over 200 plus vacancies throughout the area. So it's just to say, look, thanks very much. It was really brilliant and well attended, and hopefully next year it'll just be as big and better. Thank you.
Alderman Hussey.
Just briefly to agree with and endorse Councillor Barr's remarks. The worrying end of all of that to me is the vacancies also indicate a skills mismatch, and that is something that needs to be addressed urgently. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. No, it's clear that there were two fantastic events. I think it's great to see, for a change, vacancies in the city, because I remember a time going into the job office when there was more staff there working and there was vacancies. So, like Councillor Farrell, I'm surprised about that. What I would like to see maybe for the next meeting, I know it's 6 weeks since the event, but it would be nice if we could find out from some of those employers, has there been positions offered from that day? Because the more and more of these events we do, I think it's worthwhile for young people out there and not so young who are looking to hook up for employment. It's much easier putting a name to a face and sitting down having a chat. It's very difficult online. But no, a great event, and I think we need to do more of them. So taking the next two items, item 12 and item 13. Again, Councillor Henney.
Chair, it's on item 13, and it's just a query in relation to some of the figures that are quoted in there in relation to the Enterprise NI. It's just quite stark in relation to the targets that they have and what they're achieved. And I'm saying that in the context that I realise this is only one quarter and it could well be rectified in the next. And also that against the backdrop of ESF projects being very uncertain about their future. So I'm just wondering, is there an issue there? Is there something that we need to be aware of? Or is it just, for some of the reasons that I explained, that it simply reflects one single quarter and it's possibly rectified next time around? But I don't know if Kevin has any info on that.
I don't know, I'd need to check and just to make sure that there's not some anomaly in that reporting. To be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure. Now, I know that because we had funded that project a wee bit later, it might have been a wee bit later to get started. So I do need to double check on that, Councillor Heaney, and I do need to, double check that figure because it could be a reporting anomaly, but I will come back.
Thank you. We've already covered item 14, so can we move now on to confidential business? For items 15 and 16?